Hello, welcome to What the Flick. Christy, Alonzo, Matt. We're talking about the late, great Mike Nichols, who died Wednesday night at age 83, and just how staggeringly diverse his career was. He did everything. And did it beautifully.
He's definitely one of those 20th century Renaissance men who has the kind of life story that we're just not going to see again, I don't think. You know, his parents fled the Holocaust, and, you know, he and Elaine May were among the founders of Second City with Ed Asner and Jeremy Piven's parents, as it turns out. You know, has won more directing Tonys than anybody else. He's an EGOT.
He's an EGOT.
He is an
That's
EGOT.
Tough.
You know, like made so many classic films like The Graduate and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Did Angels in America for HBO. I mean, just the hits keep coming with this guy. You look at the list and it's, you know, it's extraordinary.
It's mind-boggling when you think that his first two films were Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and The Graduate.
Yeah.
And he won the Best Director Oscar for The Graduate. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know, you look at his later film career, and there's some movies in there that maybe aren't so great.
What Planet
Are You From? But as I was looking at this list, like there's still some really amazing movies on here. Charlie Wilson's War.
It's so
right,
sharp.
which is arguably could be a really dry story in the wrong hands. Gets a great not necessarily early, but yet another amazing performance out of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Kind of cast against type in that, the same way he did with Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate. Closer.
Closer is
Yeah.
devastating.
I love that
Primary Colors, which is really sharp. The Birdcage.
Don't get me started on
But
that.
look at how different all those films are. The same guy who made Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf made Working Girl.
Right.
Made Angels in America. Made Charlie Wilson's War.
Made Catch-22.
Right. He could do every
Blues.
single genre imaginable. And then could do every single genre imaginable also on stage.
Right.
I say, never did a musical in the movies, but he directed Spamalot and won a Tony for that too.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
and was one of the producers of the original Broadway run of Annie.
Oh yes, 1977. Yes, I saw that. So, and what's amazing about him is that there's not a Mike Nichols film, right? You look at, you know what a James Cameron film is for the most part. You know what a Martin Scorsese film is. There's like an imprimatur.
Well,
like
even guys in that era, like you could look at Richard Donner and spot a Richard Donner film a mile away. But Mike Nichols, to your point, you're right. He's almost this chameleon type. I would argue that there is still almost a vibe to them, but there's certainly,
I think, a sophistication level. You know,
but he does jump around genres and do them well for the most part.
I mean, I would compare him to Woody Allen in terms of people who came out of stand-up comedy and went into filmmaking. Obviously, Allen's movies, I think, are a little more easy to type, although he'll occasionally, you know, throw you a curveball like Another Woman or Interiors or whatever. But, you know, they both came out of this very sort of cerebral stand-up period of the 1960s. You know, you had Nichols and May, you had Woody Allen, you had like, you know, Mort Saul, people like that. That tradition, you know, and then segueing into, I mean, Woody Allen also did Broadway stuff. You know, he wrote, you know, Don't Drink the Water and all. So I mean, again, but that's a very specific period of history that I don't know that we're going to see again. I mean, you know, like Louis C.K. is probably the closest we have right now of somebody who has gone from stand-up to doing a really sophisticated kind of storytelling. He's doing it on television more. But yeah, Nichols just it's just stunning, you know, over the course of this life, how much he accomplished and how much he did so well, and in so many different directions.
Yeah, the range and the depth. Yeah, you mentioned that there's a wit or like a sensibility that is a through line through his work. And in the obit that the AP did, he said, you know, that's not for me to find a through line. That's for others to do. I choose what I'm going to do. But there is a great observational nature about human nature in all its flaws and all its complexities that seems to be existent in all of his films. Whether it's, you know, Closer, or people tearing each other apart in Closer, or
Wolf.
Well, how random is that? Well, there's something that is a truism to I can't think of anybody else who exists now who was working in such a broad way and so consistently as he is. I can't think of anybody who is even comparable. I don't know.
Yeah, I got nothing.
You guys can chime in. So Mike Nichols, rest in peace, one of the greats.